The sun began its slow descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in bruised purples and liquid gold. Vedran stood once more at the edge of Mount Vodna, but the mountain felt different in the twilight. The heat of the day was rising from the valley floor, creating invisible pillars of air that the hawks were already using to dance. He felt the familiar hum of adrenaline, no longer a sharp bite of fear, but a steady, rhythmic pulse. Astra approached him, her own glider already prepped and gleaming like a dragonfly's wing in the dying light. "Evening air is thicker, Vedran," she said, her voice low and steady. "It carries the weight of the day's memories. It's harder to read, but it will take you higher if you respect it." She reached out to adjust a tension wire on his wing, her movements precise and rhythmic. Vedran nodded, feeling the cool evening breeze tug at his flight suit. He wasn't just chasing the thrill anymore, he was chasing the perspective. Down there, in the streets of Skopje, he was just another 18-year-old with a million questions about the future. Up here, those questions felt smaller, silenced by the sheer scale of the sky. He clipped his carabiner into the keel, the metal clicking with a definitive, final sound. "See you in the stars," Astra whispered, and with a sudden, powerful sprint, she vanished over the edge. Vedran didn't hesitate. He took a deep breath, filled his lungs with the scent of wild thyme, and began to run. The ground beneath his boots was a blur of shadows until, with a sudden lurch of the heart, the resistance of the earth gave way to the embrace of the wind. The transition to flight was more visceral in the dark. Without the harsh glare of the sun, Vedran felt the air more keenly against his face. He found a thermal, a rising column of warm air near the rocky face of the mountain. He banked hard, the world tilting at a 45-degree angle. He wasn't falling. He was climbing, spiraling upward into the deepening indigo of the upper atmosphere. Below him, the Millennium Cross began to glow. Its white lights cut through the gloom like a beacon for lost travelers. Vedran leveled out, soaring parallel to the ridge. To his right, another shape appeared, Astra. She was a silent shadow against the moon, her glider moving with a fluid grace that he hoped to one day master. They were two ghosts haunting the rafters of the world. A sudden gust of wind, a rotor coming off the back of the ridge, jolted the glider. The control bar vibrated violently in Vedran's grip. For a second, the nose of the glider dipped, and the sickening pull of gravity tried to reclaim him. His heart hammered against his ribs. He remembered Astra's words. "The wind is a conversation." He didn't fight the air. He leaned into it, shifting his weight to find the balance. Astra stayed near him, her presence a silent encouragement. She didn't intervene. She knew he had to feel the rhythm of the recovery himself. She tilted her wing slightly toward him, a signal to follow her lead into the smoother air over the valley. Vedran saw the movement and adjusted his line, the vibration in the bar smoothing out into a gentle, reassuring thrum. As they approached the landing zone, a man named Marco stood in the field waving a pair of glowing orange batons. The lights of the city were a sea of amber and white now, reflecting off the Vardar River. Vedran focused on Marco's signals, the ground rushing up to meet him through the darkness. He felt a strange sense of belonging, not to the ground, and not quite to the sky, but to the space between them. The landing was a whisper in the grass. Vedran unhooked his harness and stood in the cool night air, the silence of the valley floor wrapping around him. Astra landed moments later, her glider settling like a tired bird. They stood together in the dark, two pilots who had seen the world from the rafters. "The wind said a lot tonight," Vedran said softly. Astra smiled, the moonlight catching the pride in her eyes.